Okay, so welcome to the Corelegal webinar, and it's all about the use of social media and networking sites by solicitors. At the beginning we're going to do a bit of research, and we're going to show you the results of the research, because we did a survey of 140 solicitors in 2013, and what we found is almost 70% of solicitors actually use social media websites. The majority most interested in LinkedIn. But then as you look at the slide, you see Twitter is interesting, Google Plus is surprisingly interesting to something new, Facebook is less interesting for solicitors, and there are a multitude of others that make up the smallest percentage. But 31% of people in legal firms do not use social media at all. The only site used by a majority is LinkedIn, that's 56%. So a majority of LinkedIn users use at least one other site. And of those currently not using social media, 16% said they're going to use it in the next year, but 40% have no interest in using it at all. So there's opportunity there for those that would like to do it. Now, most solicitors are actually reactive. What that actually means is they look at content. They don't create it. They look at it. So 12% of solicitors add content more than once a week, but over half look at content more than once a week. So the balance is interesting. They are finding things out rather than giving explanations. Just over a third say they add content once a week or more, but more than twice as many look at content once a week or more. So the balance is still there. There are people who are adding things to the internet, but most people are taking from the internet. So the value of social media to a solicitor, well, it's about finding information rather than increasing awareness about themselves, rather than raising their profile, rather than networking, rather than targeting clients. Various themes emerged when interviewees comment on the value of social media, but the most popular answers basically reinforce the fact that many solicitors are turning to the sites to find things out rather than sharing information or sharing their expertise. So if you look at the slide, the top three answers, what are people doing? What are solicitors doing online? Obtaining information from specialist groups, they're looking for information and also doing research. Individuals and organisations. It's amazing what you can find on the internet. What goes on Twitter stays on Google forever. And a lot of people make the mistake of forgetting that fact. Solicitors are risk averse, so they tend to work on that assumption. The comments that were received suggest that fewer solicitors are currently using social media to increase awareness or raise the profile of their firm. They're not networking with potential clients, or they're not targeting specific groups. So there's opportunity there for those that want to do that. Now we're going to introduce Lisa Newton, because Lisa is going to tell you about using social media. She's going to speak about a particular platform which is unused in the main by solicitors, and it won't be any surprise to our audience, yet here's some information from Lisa about how to get the best out of one particular social media channel. Over to you, Lisa.
Thank you. So, by social media we mean YouTube, Twitter, Facebook and LinkedIn. However, what we're going to focus on in this snippet is the channel of video, being the YouTube element of social media. So, by YouTube is basically, see it as having your very own channel. Just the way you've got the BBC, imagine having your very own broadcasting station, and the best thing about it is that it's actually free. So I really do like YouTube. I don't think it's used so very effectively or so much by solicitors, so there's a huge opportunity there for you. Video is good because it engages all the senses. It's very visual, and you've got the advantage of it being auditory as well. There are ways in which you can use different types of videos. You can have video blogs, so you might have a blog where you record yourself and then you also upload the same video onto your YouTube channel. You can also use video by also having trailers as well. So you might feature your company. You can get a little 60-second almost, like an advert done, a little trailer where you might have a visual of the outside of the premises and a voiceover of someone speaking perhaps about the company history, Joe Blogg Solicitors, established 19, whenever, and then there could be a soundbite from perhaps a happy customer, and just ending with the partner, one of the partners talking about the company and the kind of services that are on offer. So that's just another way in which you can use video. You can put the video on your website as well as on your YouTube channel. You can also record seminar snippets if you're a firm that do seminars, and maybe have just 2 or 3 minutes of little segments of nuggets of information uploaded onto your channel. You can also use video to answer frequently asked questions. So, for example, I know a patent lawyer, and someone's always asking them, people are always asking them about how do I protect my business idea? What should I do if someone infringes my material? And so what you could do is you could record the answer to that question and then have that on your YouTube channel, and you will probably be amazed at how many times that video is watched. And also, if you get an email in and someone's asking you that question, you can just point them to your video and get them to watch it. So it saves you a lot of time. So video is very powerful because it can be used as one-to-many. And the beauty of it is that it's very easy to share your content. So once you've created your video, you tweet it, you can put it on your LinkedIn, you can put it on your Facebook, and then it can actually, go viral quite quickly, really. It's very easy to share the content. Now, it's also just useful to actually be aware that Google actually owns YouTube. And so when you're actually doing searches, if you have something connected to YouTube, this really does help your website in the rankings. Many people, when they're using the internet, we have to remember that they're searching for information and they're looking for explanations. And if you are in a legal profession and things are quite difficult and quite heavy to explain and there's a lot of writing, some people just want to listen to the information. They'd much rather, they'd take in the information a lot better if they could just hear it being explained to them. Myself personally, I have quite a few videos on YouTube, and it's been useful for me to see what's actually a popular topic. So, for example, I have got videos up there explaining what bookkeeping is, explaining what budgeting is, but by far and wide, my most popular video has been the one with me explaining the difference between how to read a profit and loss account and balance sheet. I've had almost 36,000 views of that actual video, so that's actually been an eye-opening thing for me. For the purpose of this seminar, I had a quick look about looking for the words solicitors in London, and video results was actually number 6 on the Google options that came back. So I thought that was actually quite interesting. Number 6 on the list, video results. So do not underestimate the power of videos, particularly if your competition aren't using them. You've got even more chance of being viewed. Now, I'm aware not everyone wants to be in front of the camera, so there's different ways in which you can use video. You can have a screen demonstration like what we're doing here now, so you're looking at the same screen that I'm seeing. You could do a head and shoulders shot, so this would require someone to be filming you, and what we've got here is a picture you can see of, well, that's actually Mr. Ray Fox of the Bottom Line Consultancy, and this is a snippet from a seminar that we did with Corelegal where he's explaining what law firm fee structures are in mergers and acquisitions. That's been quite a popular video of ours on YouTube. You can use animation. So we've used animation for our Google's video, and you can also just use the audio content. So I myself have listened to lots of radio stations on YouTube, so you don't actually necessarily have to have the video, you can just upload audio, and that can be quite popular too. So do check out our video channel, www.youtube.com/corelegal, and see what videos we have on there. At this point, thank you for your time and attention, and I shall just move on to talking about social media in the marketing perspective.
Hello, John Hepburn from the Fedora Consultancy here. I'm here to talk about a planned approach to your social media. And first things first, as I say, you need to have that plan and ask yourself the following questions, amongst others, in order to prepare your plan. Why are you doing this? What is your objective for committing time to it? Who would you like to make contact with? What can you offer that is of interest? What topics do you wish to comment on or seek opinions about? Identifying the topics of professional interest to your firm will help establish the themes your firm wants to be communicating about. An awareness of the bigger picture issues will help scope your communications plan and set the right course for your tactical marketing activities such as social media. Your initial use of social media may be primarily for broadcasting new content on your website. It may be relatively low-key and not with a particular agenda or campaign in mind. Once you've established themes and procedures, there is the question of content to help raise your overall online profile. Opinion, information sharing, surveys and client feedback are just some of the different kinds of content that can be included. If you're happy doing so, you may want to have a comment or professional opinion ready as appropriate for a quick response to topical issues as they arise. Who is your audience? Are you looking to attract potential new clients, peer-to-peer contact with your fellow professionals, or both? You can enhance your online reputation with your own user-generated content such as case studies, testimonials and recommendations. These all help and have good SEO value. Reputation-based content such as this can also help you compete harder, for example with non-specialists operating in your area of law or looking to move into your sector through a pay-per-click campaign and being active on social media. New market entrants may be making attractive offers to potential clients who may not be able to distinguish an expert law firm from a well-dressed non-specialist legal advisor. Identify your key issues. Take a look at the key issues in your area of law or what you want to be known for. There are any number of topics that will be of interest to potential clients and your fellow professionals. Examples could include your law firm may be keen to be seen to be on the side of improving care, especially for the elderly, which is a very topical subject at the moment. You may want to know from your legal colleagues why online legal services have yet to be widely adopted, though there are a number of providers offering these services. The NHS has been shown recently to be less caring than would have been expected by the public, with almost daily news and opinion published to that effect. In the commercial litigation sector, what makes SMEs choose one law firm over another? Tone of voice, your brand values and corporate identity. Decide if you're communicating on behalf of your law firm or as an individual. You may want to make this clear, for example in your Twitter header stating all views are personal. Make sure you add a picture or logo to your profile. It does make an enormous difference. If you're not sure about doing this, then consider whether you'd look at an advert online for a car for sale if you couldn't see what it looks like. It goes without saying that your online presence should be consistent with your printed corporate identity. Use the same colours and imaging on your social media as you use on your website and printed material. All the main social media platforms have introduced a header design that gives scope for clear on-screen branding. Remember that a brand is a shortcut to help people make a purchasing decision. For professional service providers, personality is a big part of your brand, and how you present yourself online is of huge importance. The tone of voice that you use in your written content is also very important, and don't forget the basics of grammar and punctuation. The role of LinkedIn, Twitter and Google+. These can be used to broadcast regular messages to your followers and connections. There are more takers of information than givers, as we've heard earlier. Work out the value of what you can give and what you want in return. Is it to encourage people to follow you on Twitter, subscribe to your e-newsletter, attend a paid workshop, or join a free webinar? Google Plus is strongly recommended because of the additional SEO benefits it offers. Your LinkedIn individual profile is particularly useful. It's particularly useful for peer-to-peer communication and your own personal reputation. Ensure your profile here is up to date and consistent where appropriate with your law firm's About Us website page. As an aside, I'm not a fan of the endorsements feature at all. I'd stick with asking for written recommendations, not clicks of a button. A LinkedIn company page helps build your law firm brand online and can be the focus of attention in broadcasting content and messages. In due course, articles promoted here could be attributed to individual fee earners. LinkedIn advertising, that can be used to attract potential professional partners interested in collaborating with you or referring work to your law firm. Monitoring the internet for for topical articles that can be used in order to prepare relevant news content or new content for your website. This can then be used to further broadcast, commented on, or adapted as required. Preparing a schedule of topics and content. This may be a combination of your own blog posts and articles, successes achieved on behalf of clients, case studies, etc. Also, to share articles of interest and opinion and observations on industry trends, etc. Have an agreed content calendar prepared in conjunction with your colleagues. Agree that schedule. For example, one blog posting a week on an agreed specialist subject, possibly utilising or updating existing material. You could also prepare shorter content, how-to guides, or edited from existing material. These items can then be broadcast via your selected social media channels. Don't overdo it though. What's the best use of your time? Select a small number, maybe just 1 or 2 channels, and commit to regular communication. You could outsource the whole thing. Expert advice can be invaluable. When are you going to update and add information to your social media channels? Ideally, this should be daily. That drip-drip effect of providing small bits of information has a cumulative effect in the minds of people you are communicating with. Don't overdo the automated activity. Choose carefully. Some of them are very helpful, but others are just plain annoying. To finish with, here's a few housekeeping points to bear in mind. Poorly managed social media can damage your firm's hard-earned reputation. Have a social media policy in your employment contracts, and make sure that your IT policy covers your staff's use of Facebook and Twitter. Make sure you get these things sorted before you have a problem. Focus on what information your staff can communicate within their profiles in relation to your law firm and any clients that they represent. Consider any potential damage to your reputation. You wouldn't let employees rewrite your website, but the impact of a poorly managed online social media presence could damage your firm's hard-earned reputation. You can't buy trust or integrity. It has to be earned, and rightly or wrongly, perception is reality. Social media needs to be all about the right attitude. Above all, set about the task in hand with that right attitude. People buy people, so engage your interpersonal or soft skills. It's not just about your technical knowledge. Social networking online is particularly useful if you're not comfortable in face-to-face situations. It can supplement those events that you might attend. You might never meet your online contacts, but you still know who they are. They might be apparently superficial in one sense, but these contacts are part of the cultural shift to an even more focused and increasingly personalised internet experience. Remember the rules. Your social media connections have given you permission to communicate about your business, so don't abuse that permission. Lastly, remember, people, add new connections, communicate with others, but don't be overly salesy. Build a dialogue and therefore a relationship over a period of time. Thank you. Now I'd like to introduce Jason Cobine, who's going to go into a bit more detail about LinkedIn.
Thank you, John. And as you can see, as John said, people on LinkedIn have given you the permission to share things with them, but they don't want you to beg them. So no begging, keep that in mind. If you're sending out the bog standard I would like to connect with you invite on LinkedIn, you're not differentiating yourself from anyone else at all, and they may well accept it, but they might not remember who sent it. If you send a personalised request, especially if it's more about them than about you, they will usually remember that, especially if you're the one person in 1,000 that bothered to personalise a message. So I've been using LinkedIn for about 5 years now. I'm not saying I thought it was going to be exactly as big as it was, but I sensed that it was Facebook for business. Now LinkedIn is really interesting. Not everyone will get along with it, so I'm going to give you a few items from my case studies. Now, are they your contacts on there or not? John mentioned a social media policy earlier. It's really important that people who own a business have a social media policy, because otherwise it's going to be very difficult to enforce any rules about who owns contacts if someone happens to leave your employ. And people do leave employment suddenly, and you're not always going to know when that's going to happen. So it's best to have a social media policy. And I hope you're writing all your questions down for the Q&A at the end. If one of them is, where do you get a social media policy? Ask us. We can help you with that. We will point you in the right direction, or maybe there's one that you can adopt. So are they your contacts or not? Well, the short answer is if you have used your employer's email address, so that would be jason@lawfirm.com, and you sent all your connection requests using that address, they are probably the contacts of your employer. But do you want to get into the argument with an employee when they've left, saying all those people you connected with outside of office hours are now my contacts? Probably not, so try and have the fight up front rather than leaving it till late in the day. Now, LinkedIn allows you to engage many ways. Of course, you can share things on your profile, but you could also get involved in discussions where that allows you to display your expertise. But as John said earlier, don't be too salesy. Display your expertise. Don't necessarily tell people that you're the only person in the world that's capable of doing something unless you actually know that to be a fact. Also, you can open up a company page. You can open your own group, but a group is much more difficult to manage than a company page. So a company page allows you not only to invite people to look at specific services that you would like to tell them about, but it also allows them to follow you, and you can then update individuals or certain sectors who are following your company page. I'll give you an example. We recently had a client who wanted something really particular. Once we'd provided that and he gave us a testimonial, we shared that testimonial with people in the same sector via our company page, and we got a few inquiries out of that. So there are various ways of connecting with people, but we say try thinking about engagement rather than just connecting, because you engage people by sharing. Sharing is king and queen on LinkedIn. You can share things on your profile, you can share things on your company page, you can share your opinion in discussions, but be careful what opinions you're sharing. You can also share rich media. So going back to what Lisa said about YouTube, it's so easy to share something that is on YouTube on LinkedIn. You simply copy and paste the URL into the bottom of the summary section on your profile. And so as people scroll up and down your profile, they can see something that engages their upper senses. So if they're an auditory person rather than just a visual person, they not only see your profile, but they can hear you speak, which is always interesting. It just helps them understand you and helps them start to trust you. You must curate your content though, because there's no point in having loads of YouTube videos that are not of interest to your target market or not of interest to your contents. It should be something that allows you to explain something that you do, but doesn't give the game away. I wouldn't suggest giving away too much of the services that you charge good money for, but it should be interesting and relevant. You must curate all the content that you share on LinkedIn. Now I say must, it's all I mean by that is don't share things that you're not sure of. So if you think something has a good title and you know that person always shares good quality information, then it's safe to share it. But if you see a good title, you haven't read the article, you don't know the person from Adam, you could be sharing something that's not going to do you any favours. So we recommend that you curate content. One way to do that is use the example that John said earlier. You can search the internet for things that are on message and comment and share on those. But also do create your own content, because you can share that anywhere you choose. It is really powerful. Much like YouTube, LinkedIn is one too many. The added benefit of LinkedIn, people have got used to sharing things on there. So if you do share a video or a blog or a testimonial from a customer, or a customer recommends you, then other people can share that with other people. So you may have one client that's particularly happy with something you did, and if they recommend you, another client may then think, well, that's a good recommendation, and tell other people about your expertise. Speaking of expertise, you can share it in many ways. We've talked about YouTube, but blogging should not be underestimated. Once you've prepared a blog, you can put it on your profile page, on your company page. You can ask questions about it via LinkedIn discussions, but be careful that you don't break any of the rules in any of the groups. And you can make it very engaging by making it, how can I put it, topical. If you make an article topical, it will engage people. You've got to be aware of timing to do that. And there are a lot of people who say, well, it's a bit boring when people advertise ice cream on Valentine's Day, but if you can work out an advanced schedule of what you should be sharing, you can tie it in with major events during the year that people are already aware of. So it's important that you do understand what content you are going to share so you can make it engaging and time it accordingly. Do get involved in discussions. It's important that you are confident enough to answer questions that are real in your area. Again, don't give the game away. I wouldn't provide too much information to someone you don't know. Also, with the legal profession, you've got to know your client before you start giving information. And it's important that you do share your opinion, but don't give too much away. There will be a time in a discussion. If someone is really in need of assistance and advice, then the person who's running the discussion can basically, or running the group, should step in and say, I think it's time we took this offline. But do answer questions and get involved in discussions. Also, if you've got a good enough discussion, you can start it yourself. I wouldn't recommend asking questions that you already know the answer to in order to basically sell to people who say that's an interesting question, I wish I knew the answer. That's been done time and time again, and you may find that it's not great for your reputation. Now, at some point, you're going to have to take it offline. That's if someone has started understanding more about you, they seem to like you, they seem to be interested in the service you provide. Do be aware, even if you are one of those people that is a little bit introverted, you don't necessarily like real, what we call organised networking events or meeting rooms full of strangers, at some point someone is going to ask you for more information. So when you take it offline, it's not usually a networking event. You can usually meet them in a spot that's convenient for both of you. You can just move from LinkedIn onto Skype and have a Skype discussion first. You can use the telephone, but at some point you will need to meet them. And the important thing there is keep your profile picture up to date, so when they turn up, they don't see someone with a lot more hair than in the photo. Also make sure that it's a professional photo. Not many people want to have a meeting with someone that's standing on the beach with a can of beer in their hand. People do look at pictures and they use their unconscious bias to make a decision. Whether it's right or wrong, you've got to be aware that people are doing that. So be aware that you can spend a lot of time on LinkedIn, but at some point, if you want to monetize the conversations that you're having, it will be going offline. So what can you do now? Well, right now, the most important thing that most people forget to do on LinkedIn is add benefits to your profile. So when people are looking at your profile, they're often thinking, well, what's in it for me? I'm not saying everyone is, but they're often thinking about what they're going to gain by being connected to you. So make sure you put the benefits of what you do as a business and certainly as an individual on your profile. That will also help with the website rankings. We've talked about endorsements. If people have a lot of endorsements, they will creep up the website rankings, but they will have better rankings by putting better benefits on their profile. You can also search for content using LinkedIn. LinkedIn is so up to date now, especially with the tablet versions and the phone versions. They actually deliver content to your front page, and you can select which subjects you're interested in, and then you can start sharing those subjects. So it's a great place to search for content. You can just go into the search bar, type anything you're liking, and you'll be amazed what pops up. And you'll be amazed at some of the people you know that are sharing it. You can also see what's popular and topical by using the search bar and seeing what other people are commenting on. You can also measure your results. And this is something very few people do on LinkedIn. I'm going to give you a very quick example of how you can measure the results that your profile is achieving. So pick a moment in time, say today or one day next week, and have a look at how many people have visited your profile, and compare that to how many people have asked to be connected to you. They've sent you an invitation. Share some different things on your profile, maybe change a few things, and then measure the results again over a similar period of time, possibly a week, and see how many people have visited your profile and how many of those have asked you to connect. If you've got a high percentage asking you to connect, then in theory the profile is doing its job. On your company page, you can do exactly the same thing. It's about seeing how many followers you have at any particular point. and then you can change things for 7 days, share different things, maybe share a video instead of just a blog, and then come back a week later and measure how many followers you've got. So now we're going to go through your to-done list. We're calling it that because you've probably already got a to-do list. These are things you can do straight away. So if you look at the screen, you'll see my LinkedIn profile. These are top 5 places that you're going to get what we call Google Juice. This is going to help you creep up the rankings in Google. So the places where you need to put what are called SEO keywords are preferably in your title, where you announce who you are and what you do. Also in your your past, things you've done in the past. You'll notice there's a couple of things I've put that are quite useful for my Google Juice allude to what I've done in the past. You can also do it in your current, so maybe you have 2 or 3 positions. At the moment you might be chairman of the local Rotary Club, you may be chair lady of a charity, you could be involved, as I am, in a sports league, and you can put all those things on there. You can also, in your summary, you need to put something to do with SEO. On your specialist skills, you can put the things that you want to be known for in there. So that's headline, past, present, summary, and skills. Now, start as you mean to go on. If you've only got 10 minutes a week, then perhaps use those 10 minutes to update one thing on your profile and then comment in one discussion. Discussions are great if your target market are in there, or especially if they're starting them, because they want people to keep their discussions going. If you've got an hour to spare, maybe you would be sharing something and looking for new contacts to connect to, as well as commenting in discussions. So always start as you mean to go on. Think about, well, what am I going to be able to do for the next 6 months? If it's only 10 minutes a week, keep it small. If it's an hour, do a bit more. What's your story? Make sure that your summary does incorporate case studies or examples of what you can do for people, because when they ask you to take it offline, perhaps via Skype, perhaps via a phone call, perhaps in a meeting, they will want to know more about the points that you've put in your LinkedIn summary. It's a good place to start the conversation. You can continue it from there. Now, do use all the features that are in your current LinkedIn account. So if you are a new user to LinkedIn, you've probably got the free account. Don't upgrade until you've already used all the features. That's a question I get asked most often. People think that there's some sort of silver bullet in LinkedIn. It's basically, there isn't a silver bullet. It can help you achieve a lot of things, but use all the features in your current offering before you go and upgrade. So that's it. That's Jason Coburn on LinkedIn. And now it's time for your Q&A.